Looking at Exodus chapter 28, and God instructs Israel to make garments for the priests, and these garments are to be beautiful. They are to have precious stones on them. They are to have the names of the 12 tribes of Israel engraved upon them. They are to be covered in fine linen. Like, these are spectacles to behold. Now, there are a couple reasons I think God instructed Israel to have such flashy garments for the priests. First of all, God is holy. Every part of the priest was to be covered. Like the nakedness of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden was to be covered because they were gods, their shame was to be covered. And I think the imagery here is the same. The priests are covered because the shame and the sin of humanity is just unable to approach God, who is holy, who is other, who is in a class all of his own, and a God who hates sin and hates what sin has done to his world, hates what sin has done to his creation. So this covering is to cover the shame of the priest, and is to be a picture of the covering of the shame of humanity, which is ultimately accomplished in Jesus Christ, our Messiah, on the cross. And his blood clothes us. We are clothed in his righteousness. His righteousness is imputed to us, and our sin is imputed to him. It's the great exchange, and he dies to atone for that sin. So I think this is a foreshadowing of what Christ will do on the cross, a foreshadowing of the fact that we now, if we are in Christ, we are clothed in his righteousness, quite literally clothed in the holiness of God, clothed in the glory of God. This has been God's plan all along, and so he instructs that the priests who represent this work that he is doing, the work of atonement, the work of redemption, are to be clothed. They are to be covered, but they are covered in gold, precious jewels, fine linen. And then as I read like this description of the priestly garment in Exodus chapter 28, I can't help but think about the way John describes the church in Revelation chapter 21, describing the church as a city, the new Jerusalem, being made with precious stones, gold, and having even the names of the 12 tribes of Israel engraved upon it. And so this, just the picture of the priests and what God is doing to the priests, adorning the priests, preparing them, sanctifying them, is a picture of what happens to us in Christ. We are made holy, we are made glorious like these precious stones. And in fact, John recognizes this imagery, uses the imagery from the priestly garment to describe what the entire church becomes in Christ, being clothed in his righteousness and his glory. The priestly garments, yes, are a sign that God hates sin. They show us that God hates sin and the shame that sin has brought upon humanity, the crown of God's creation and upon creation as a whole. But then it's also a picture of the gospel. And when Christ atones for our sin, when we are saved, we are clothed in his righteousness. We are made glorious. We are prepared and sanctified like a bride for Christ. And that is good news.